Hello everyone, welcome back to the Remnant Christian Book Reading channel. Today we have a great video set up for you. You're going to be reading 3 chapters. So, it's a good amount of chapters. It'll be great. Make sure you stay tuned to the end for this special announcement at the end. And, of course, if you're ready for this chapter, go ahead and give it a nice thumbs up. Let's go ahead and begin quickly to get this beautiful reading started. I'll try to make it beautiful, but let's get it started. Chapter 2. The Plan. I just feel like we deserted them, Cody said as they entered the cluttered garage. Them? Willard said. Or her? Her who? Cody asked. Her. Piper, Willard answered. What are you talking about? They walked around another one of Willard's failed inventions, a nuclear-powered dental flosser. A giant 2-story machine designed to automatically floss your teeth while you slept. Not a bad idea, except instead of cleaning your teeth, it sort of yanked them out. I see the way she looks at you, Willard teased. Of course it's no big deal, 'cause all the girls do that. Yeah, right, Cody scoffed. Willard had to smile. Cody was clueless about his good looks and the effect he had on girls, which was probably why the two of them were still best friends. There's only one difference, Willard said. What's that? I also see the way you look at her. Cody glanced down embarrassed. It's just that he caught himself and tried again. It's just that they are all alone in that motorhome up in the mountains. Not exactly. They stopped in front of another gigantic pile of junk. Willard reached in and dug out a laptop computer and a pair of night vision goggles. Cool, Cody said. You get those goggles from the army? Willard shook his head. It's another one of my inventions. Uh-oh. No! Listen, these are way cool. Check them out. Willard pulled a cable from the pile and began attaching it. These will let us watch Piper and her brothers wherever they are. I hope they work better than your helo hopper. Why is that? 'Cause that almost got us killed. Twice. No, Willard insisted. These are perfectly safe. You just plug them in, like so. He finished attaching the cable to the computer, then the goggles. Willard, I don't think... Then you put them on, like so. He fitted the goggles over his thick glasses. Then you enter a cell phone number, like so. He typed Zach and Piper's email address into the computer. Willard, are you sure? And then finally... You turn them on. Like so. He flipped a switch on the side of the goggles and waited. Fortunately, nothing happened. Cody gave a sigh of relief. Unfortunately, Willard wasn't done. Maybe there's a short. He looked to the keyboard. Maybe. Oh, wait a minute. Of course. I forgot to hit enter. Willard, I really don't... He pressed the key and the goggles lit up like a Christmas tree. Only it wasn't just the goggles, it was also... Willard! Cody shouted. The boy's face glowed like a nightlight, and his body shook like a bowl of Jell-O on a jackhammer. He cried. How? Cody yelled. Where? Willard shouted. Cody reached over to the computer and hit the delete key. Instantly, the goggles went off and everything was back to normal. Well, almost everything. It seemed Willard's hair was still smoldering. Actually, it wasn't so much hair anymore. Now it was more like a smoking peach fuzz. Are you okay? Cody asked. Willard pulled off his goggles and sighed. I hate it when that happens. Boy, you did a number to this, baby. The old mechanic slammed the RV's engine compartment shut. Zack and Piper traded nervous looks. How much is this going to cost? Zack asked. Well, first you got your alternator. That's $160. Then you got your battery. That's gonna be... Whoa. Zack held up his hand. We don't even have the 160. Then I'd say you got yourself a pal. The mechanic wiped his hand on an oily rag and limped away. Zack and Piper ran to catch up. There must be something you can do, Piper said. You can use my phone to call your folks. I wish it was that easy, she mumbled. The old man blew his nose into the oily rag, then checked it for results. If I ain't fixing it, you ain't leaving it here, he said. Right, Zack looked around, trying to figure out what to do. Can we get back to you? Piper asked. The old-timer shrugged. If you ain't got the money, you ain't got the money. Unless you're expecting some sort of miracle. The words touched off an idea in Zack's mind, and he turned to Elijah. As usual, his little brother was clueless. Unless you call playing with a caterpillar on a nearby tree having a clue. Still, Zack glanced over to the roadside diner. I'm sorry about that. To the roadside diner next door. Can we grab a bite to eat before we give you an answer? Suit yourself. Just don't take too long. The mechanic blew his nose again and checked for the results. This time, he was more pleased. Mom and Dad entered the dark office. In the shadows, a huge man sat behind his desk. They'd seen him before, felt his chilling power. Welcome, he hissed. Mom shifted, trying to get a better look. But no matter how she moved, his face seemed to stay in shadow, even when light hit it. What do you want from us? Dad demanded. His voice sounded strong, but Mom could tell he was terrified. Who wouldn't be? Silence! The man shouted. I am the one who asks the questions. The room grew very, very still. Ever so slowly he rose from his desk. Where is he? You'll get nothing from us, Dad said. Really? Mom didn't like the man's tone. She liked it even less when he started towards them. Maybe he walked, maybe floated. She couldn't tell in the dark. Oh, but I will get something from you, he hissed. If not your cooperation, then at least their weaknesses. Their weaknesses? Dad asked. Yes. He arrived and hovered over Mom. She pulled back. You will tell me their weaknesses, and I will use them. What do you mean? Her voice trembled. Use them for what? Why? To destroy them, of course. His long fingers shot out and wrapped around her head. She tried to scream but could not find her voice. Suddenly her eyes began to shudder. Show me, he hissed. Show me your oldest. Before she could stop herself, thoughts of Zack raced through her mind. Memories. First, there was his weird sense of humor. She remembered the time he was in 2nd grade, and he had the entire class believing he came from the strange and mysterious planet of whatchamacallit. He said he'd been sent as a scout to observe and report what he saw on Earth. If he reported that Earthlings were a kind and generous race, by giving him all their spare change and any cool desserts their mom packed for lunch, then his boss, the mighty warlord of whatchamacallit, might let them live. If they didn't, well, Zack couldn't promise what their fate would be.
No,
The Shadow Man growled.
useless.
His hands tightened around Mom's head.
Show me something else.
Another memory shot through her mind. Suddenly, she recalled the time the newspaper called them on the phone. "Hello?" she answered. "Hi," the voice on the other end said. "This is the Los Angeles Times." "The Los Angeles Times?" she had asked. Of course, that was all Zack had heard. In a flash, he ran upstairs, showered, and put on his hottest clothes. He was so sure that they were going to do a front-page story on him that he even combed his hair. Well, as much as you could comb that type of a mess. It wasn't until he headed back downstairs that he learned the newspaper just wanted Mom to renew her subscription for another year.
Worthless.
The man hissed.
I need something I can use to control him.
He moved his hands to another part of her head, and another memory flashed before her eyes. Only this time there were several images. Images of Zack strolling up to pretty girls in the lunch line and introducing himself. Images of him sucking in his stomach and looking all buff when he sauntered past the girls' locker room. Images of him catching a reflection of himself in a store window and smoothing back his hair, if you could really call smoothing it, before turning to a nearby girl and piling on the charm.
Yes.
The evil voice seemed to come from inside her head.
His weakness for girls. Yes. I shall use that.
He then started to laugh. Ugly, menacing.
Yes. Yes.
His laugh grew louder and louder, filling her head until she collapsed onto the floor and heard nothing at all. "So what do we do?" Piper asked. She and Elijah sat in a booth across from Zack in the diner. "I saw a help sign wanted in the window. Maybe I could get a job." "You don't know how to be a waitress," Zack said. "I could learn." Zack gave her a snicker, and she gave him a look. "What's that for?" she demanded. "Sorry," he shrugged. "It's just that you and food, well, you're not always the best of friends." "Meaning?" "Remember the last time you tried to fix dinner?" "Yeah." "And you served us canned peas?" Piper felt her ears growing warm. "All right, so I overcooked them a little." "Not if you like chewing on BBs," Zack teased. Piper's ears grew a lot warm. "Or what about that time Dad broke his tooth eating your oatmeal?" "Okay, so it was a little lumpy." "And remember the time everybody got sick when you fixed us hamburgers?" "Not everybody," Piper argued. "You never got sick." "That's because I fed mine to Molly, the wonder dog." Piper's eyes widened. "Is that why we had to take her to the vet?" "That's why we had to take her to the vet that time," Zack said. "And that's why they had to pump her stomach that time." "You're not going to bring up the other time when you fed her my mac and cheese, are you?" "The stuff you fried in mustard and ketchup, then smothered in horseradish?" Zack shook his head. "Never." Piper looked at him suspiciously. Why not? Because I'm a sensitive kind of guy. She snorted and blew the hair out of her eyes. Changing the subject, she asked, "So what do you suggest for making money, I mean?" "I've got something right here." Zach pulled his hand from his coat pocket and produced a wadded gum. Excuse me. Sorry. Let me redo that there. "So what do you suggest for making money, I mean?" "I've got something right here." Zach pulled his hand from his coat pocket and produced a wadded gum wrapper and their life savings of $1.47. "Great," Piper groaned. "That'll do us a lot of good." But Zach wasn't listening. Instead, he turned to Elijah. "So, what do you think, little guy?" Elijah looked at the money and smiled. Zach held it closer. "What are you doing?" Piper asked. "Remember back in the RV how he multiplied the burgers and fries so we had enough to eat?" "Yeah. So if he can multiply burgers and fries, he can multiply money." "Zach." "What?" He held the money closer. "Come on, fella. Do your thing." "Isn't that kind of dishonest?" "What's dishonest about it?" At last, Elijah reached for his hand. "There we go, that's right, just touch it and..." But instead of taking the money, the boy picked up the wadded gum wrapper. "No, no, 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 no," Zach said. "The money! We need money!" Elijah looked at him, grinned, and set the paper on the table. "No!" Zach shook the money in his hand. "This!" Elijah began playing with the wrapper. "This!" "Eli, we need more of this!" But Elijah was too busy playing to hear. Pepper covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Elijah looked up at her. His eyes sparkled like he understood. Maybe he did. "Hi there." Piper turned to see their waitress. She was about Zach's age, with black hair, black clothes, black fingernail polish, and some major black eyeliner. She was definitely goth. But underneath all that makeup, she was probably cute. And by the way she flirted with Zach, she was definitely interested. "Can I take your order?" Yeah," Zach shrugged. "I guess we'll, he glanced down at his money. "We'll just split some fries." "That's it?" "All we have is $1.47. "But you're hungry, right?" "Oh yeah, big time." "Right." She gave him another smile and started scribbling on her pad. "That's 3 deluxe burgers, 3 sides of fries, 3 milkshakes, and 1 hot apple turnover." "No, you don't understand. We can't afford." She flipped her hair to the side. "I understand perfectly. And what the boss doesn't know won't hurt him." "What?" "It's on the house, big guy." Zach could only stare. Come to think of it, that's all Piper could do too. The waitress flashed another smile. "It's the least I can do for a hottie like you." She turned and started off. "I'll be back." Zach broke into a grin and nodded. "Right. We'll see you, soon." "Zach," Piper whispered, "we can't do that." "Why not?" Zach said, still impressed with himself. "Because she's ripping off the restaurant to feed us." "Oh well," he shrugged. "Oh well? That's all you can say?" "Hey, it's not my fault. I'm such a hottie." Peppy rolled her eyes and groaned. "Hey, it beats green peas, oatmeal, or mac and cheese." She gave him a slug in the arm. "Ow!" And then another in the other arm. "What's that for?" he complained. "In case I'm not around the next time you're mean." Chapter 3. A new friend. The chapter 2 went by pretty quick. Now chapter 3. "Faster!" Monica yelled. "Faster!" Guys? Bruno called from the back seat.
I don't understand, Silas said. The brats were right in front of us.
Guys?
It's your fault they got away, Monica yelled. If Shadow Man finds out, it's your neck, not mine.
Guys! They both turned and shouted in unison.
What?
That hitchhiker back there, wasn't he the same homeless guy we saw back in Los Angeles?
Bruno, Silas sighed. That was 100 miles ago.
Yeah.
And I've been driving 80 miles an hour the whole time.
Yeah.
So there's no way somebody's going to walk faster than I'm driving.
Oh, yeah. Bruno giggled. I get it.
Good,
Silas muttered.
I'm glad.
Except... Silas tried to ignore him. He would have succeeded if Bruno hadn't drilled his finger into his back. Excuse me? Excuse me?
What is it, Bruno?
What if he was, like, magical or something?
There is no magic.
Right? But what if he was, like, an angel?
Bruno,
Yeah, Silas?
don't be stupid.
You know I can't help it, said Bruno.
I know.
Silas shook his head.
Believe me, I know.
Sure you don't need some more fries? The waitress asked. Maybe some onion rings? No, Zach said, pushing back the remains of his third hamburger. I'm stuffed. A big guy like you needs his nourishment, she said. The line was so corny. Piper had to look away. Unfortunately, there were more coming. You work out, don't you? Zach gave a little flex. You can tell. Piper couldn't help snickering. The only time he works out is when he's reaching for the remote. Zach shot her a glance. The waitress laughed. My name is Ashley. You guys are just passing through? Our RV broke down and we don't have the money to fix it, Zach said. Unless you know a mechanic who'll work for $1.47. Zach chuckled at his little joke and Ashley laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Piper glanced away, thinking she might get sick. And it had nothing to do with the food. That's when she saw the tears in Elijah's eye. The kid was looking directly at Ashley and getting all misty. Hey, little buddy, Piper asked. You okay? Elijah didn't hear. Instead, he slowly reached out and touched Ashley's arm. Whoa! The girl stepped back. What's with him? He's our little brother, Zach said. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, well, I'm not really into being touched. Kinda creeps me out. Really? Long story. Ashley raked her hands through her hair and turned to Piper. Listen, if you need some cash, why not work here a couple days? I'd could use a day off, and we really need the help. You think they'd hire me? Piper asked. They're so desperate, they'd hire anybody. Piper nodded and then stopped. Not exactly sure it was a compliment. Ashley motioned to the back. Go talk to Stan. He's the owner and the cook. What? Piper asked. Now? Sure. We're closing up soon. Now's the perfect time. Piper looked to Zach. What do you think? But Zach was so busy staring at Ashley, he wasn't thinking of anything. Zach! What? Oh, yeah, sounds good to me. Piper hesitated. I really don't... Go ahead, Ashley said. It'll only take a minute. And while you're doing that, she turned to Zach. You can walk me home. Really? His voice squeaked like a rusty hinge. Well, it's not really home, but it's where we all stay. We? Piper asked. Another long story. It's just a few hundred yards from here. As she spoke, Elijah quickly slipped off the bench and started toward the back door. Elijah! Zach called. Where are you going? That's the wrong door! Elijah didn't turn, but arrived at the back door and opened it, patiently waiting. Ashley chuckled. Well, I guess you're both taking me home. Why's that? Zach asked. That's the way to my place. She shrugged. Strange kid. I wonder how he knew. Piper and Zach exchanged looks and then answered in unison. Long story. Well, that didn't work out so well, Cody said as he finished brushing the ashes off Willard's bald head. Willard nodded. Good thing that was only Plan B. Plan B? Yup. Cody swallowed nervously. Is there a Plan A? Willard smiled an even geekier smile, which always meant trouble. Knowing where they are isn't going to be all that helpful. It isn't? Not really. Cody wasn't thrilled to ask, but he had little choice. What would be helpful? Wilbur cranked up his smile to super geek. He motioned for Cody to follow. I was afraid you were never going to ask. Cody gave a quiet groan. And I was afraid I would. Very interesting so far. I wonder what's up with this Ashley girl. Let's go into chapter 4 and see what's going on. Mom sat on the cell floor. Excuse me, hold on. This is chapter 4 titled Real Power. Sorry. Mom sat on the cell floor with her head on her knees. I've betrayed him, she softly wept. Dad called over to her. Sweetheart. Our own son, and I've betrayed him, she sniffed. I don't know who or what that thing is, but I told him. You did the best you could. Somehow his words only made the tears come faster. I let him read my mind. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. I let him know Zach's weaknesses. At that moment, Dad would have given anything to break the chains holding him to the wall. Not to be free, but just to reach out and hold her. She buried her face back into her knees. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm so sorry. Judy. Dad spoke quietly but firmly. Listen to me. We don't know who or what that man is, but I think we have a pretty good idea where he draws his power from. That's just it. She tried to swallow back her tears. Zach's only a boy. He can never stand up to that thing on his own. And he doesn't have to. He doesn't? Dad shook his head. No, he doesn't. But we may not be there to help him. At least physically. But there's another way. And it's more powerful than any other. You mean, are you talking about prayer? That's where the real battles are won or lost. That's where the real power lies. But he's just a teenager. Dad nodded. And so was David when he beat Goliath. And Mary and some of the disciples. Mom sniffed and slowly started to nod. Then we'd better get to work. I hear that, Dad said. In Zach's case, the sooner the better. Mom gave a quiet chuckle, which warmed Dad's heart. Then all alone on the hard stone floor, husband and wife bowed their heads and started to pray. Elijah clung to Zach's hand as they followed Ashley up the wooded trail. The little guy wasn't scared, but something was definitely going on in his head. Jason's place is right there. Ashley motioned to a broken down house in definite need of a paint job. Who's Jason? Zach asked. He's this real cool guy who lets a bunch of us stay with him. Where are your parents? My stepdad's a junkie who beats me, and my mom's an alcoholic who doesn't care. So you ran away? Ashley shrugged. Wouldn't you? I'm sorry. No biggie, Ashley said. If I hadn't left them, I'd have never had met Jason. Elijah tugged on Zach's hand. Zach glanced down and saw him motioning for them to head back to the restaurant. But if it came down to spending time with Elijah or Ashley, well, let's just say there wasn't much competition. Turning back to Ashley, he asked, Who exactly is this Jason? Our spiritual advisor. Spiritual advisor? You mean like a pastor? Ashley broke out laughing. No way! What's so funny? We've got a cool pastor at home. Yeah, I'm sure. But Jason, he knows the deeper mysteries like contacting spirits. That sort of stuff. Zach tensed. More than once his folks had warned them about fooling around with those types of things. He knew he should probably say something, but Ashley was so beautiful. Elijah tugged harder. Again, Zach ignored him. At last, they reached the porch steps leading to her door. Well, here we are. Ashley turned to face Zach just as Elijah yanked on his arm with all his might. What's with him? She asked. Zach acted like he hadn't noticed. Who? Him. Again, he tried ignoring Elijah, but it's hard to ignore someone when he's yanking your arm out of its socket. Is he okay? Oh, yeah, Zach said as casually as possible. Probably just has to go to the bathroom or something. Elijah continued yanking and tugging and pulling. He looks kind of desperate. Yeah, probably, Zach said. Elijah tucked his legs up and completely hung from Zach's arm. There's a restroom back at the restaurant, Ashley said. I'd hurry and get him there if I were you. Zach nodded, feeling very much like a human monkey bar. So, she turned and headed up the steps. I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Zach nodded. Elijah began swinging back and forth on his arm. It was like a trapeze. Ashley gave one last smile, mostly out of sympathy. Good night. Good night, Zach answered, still pretending nothing was out of the ordinary. She opened the door, stepped inside, and quietly closed it behind her. As soon as it shut, Elijah dropped back down to the ground, acting perfectly normal. Zach looked down at him and glared. Elijah looked up at him and grinned. Then without a word, but maybe a little giggle, Elijah turned and skipped back toward the restaurant. Zach shook his head and started to follow. I tell you, you're one strange dude. Cody and Willard rounded another pile of junk and came face to face with an old-fashioned telephone booth. Here we go, Willard said proudly. Here we go what? Cody asked. Here is the solution to
all of our problems?
Cody was afraid to ask, but he knew he had no choice. How will this solve our problems?
Instead of just viewing Piper and her brothers, this will actually send us to visit them. It's my new and improved teleporter machine.
Cody simply stared at him.
What?
Willard asked. Sounds like you've been watching too many Star Trek reruns.
No, seriously,
Willard said.
you just step inside and punch in Piper's email address.
And then?
And then it will send you to wherever she is.
Willard,
Yes, Cody.
are you taking your medication?
Laugh all you want, but there's only one way to find out if it works.
And that is?
Step inside and try it out.
Cody turned to Willard and gave him one of his world-famous, "Are you crazy or am I just having a nightmare?" looks. Unfortunately, it was no nightmare. Instead, it was much worse. And that is the end of chapter 4. Well, that was interesting 3 chapters. If you're still staying tuned and you're still watching, thank you for reaching the end. If you enjoyed this book, go ahead and leave it in the comment. In the comment section. If you really enjoyed it, maybe hit a like. And if you loved it so much with all your heart, maybe you could try subscribing. Anywho, stay tuned for the surprise announcement. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. God bless. And I'll go ahead and send it back to myself. Hi everyone, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. We're going to start our 2022 Christmas giveaway on the Remnant Christian Book Reading. Our first giveaway is going to be for a $25 Barnes & Noble's gift card. It's going to start from the time this video posts until the 25th of December 2022. For you to enter, all you have to do is these simple steps. Subscribe to this channel. In the description, I'm going to have our Facebook. Also be a member on there. And I'm going to post every time we do a video a secret word. And if you can comment this secret word every single time, you'll be entered into the raffle. And maybe you might win. So God bless you everyone. And have a great day or night or whenever you are. God bless you all. Bye-bye.